With iRacing being the most expensive driving simulator out there, is it still good value for money? That's the question that we're asking and hopefully answering in this video. I'm an iRacer and I preemptively downvoted this video. I'm not happy with your title. Woo! First of all, let's be clear about this, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, value is subjective. One person's value is another person's total rip-off. So let's keep that in mind and let's work with that as we stumble our way through this question. Now, we ran a non-binding referendum vote on whether or not iRacing was good value for money or not, and of the GamerMuscle Twitter followers, 59% said no and 41% said yes, it was good value for money. Which is a conflicting result and doesn't help us get anywhere. But I've learnt from real-world referenda that really, a couple of percentage votes one way and that's enough. So, sorry iRacing, you've got to delete your service off the internet and the world will be a better place. Our Twitter poll was totally useless. We did get some interesting comments, but I didn't learn anything from it, you didn't learn anything from it. It was kind of like just watching a normal video on this channel. So, in an attempt to actually provide something of use for a change, we're gonna begin by saying what I think is the best value aspect of iRacing. What does iRacing do that's of value? Let's forget the price. Let's just say, what does it do that's of value? And I think the biggest feature of iRacing, assuming you've subscribed to it already and bought some content already, is that, and assuming that you've bought popular cars, is that at all times of day, you will pretty much always be able to find a race. And not only just one race, normally it'll be a race that's divided into 2, possibly 3 splits. And for those of you who don't know, we're splitting iRacing is at minimum, it's normally at least 12 cars. And that's what I found, and especially with the Skip Barber, which we're racing in this video. Pretty much any time of day, you could load up iRacing. You know, you could be really annoyed with life. I don't know, you've been charged too much for your internet, you've talked on the phone to the support and they're not doing anything right. I don't know, your kid's been shouting. You know, life could be terrible, but you can go to your sim rig, you can load up iRacing, and then you can be driven into by other Skip Barber cars on T1. But that's an option any time of the day, and in general, relative to general public server racing, the racing will be relatively clean. It's not as miraculously clean as some iRacers will lead you to believe, but in general, iRacing is going to have a race there for you to join. And it's actually quite interesting that even on the... so you've got times of day where in other more popular simulators, bar GT Sport, I mean, you know, debatable how much of a sim that is, but you can have times of day on the other PC sims where they're literally totally empty. Even on the public servers, there's just no one there. And yet, you can load up iRacing and there will be at least 1 or 2 race series with cars racing on it where you'll probably get a moderately good race. And, you know, that is just that convenience of being able to race whenever you want to as an end user. It's like, you know, it's like why people pay more money for drinks out of a vending machine. The drink's there. And you're thirsty, so you pay more for that drink because you want it right then. You want it now, damn it. And then the vending machines in Heathrow Airport, it takes your money and it doesn't dispense the drink. And there's no one to complain to because no one that owns the vending machine is there. There's no phone number and you've got to catch a flight, a 9-hour flight to another bloody country. So there's nothing you can do. Hang on a minute, I'm getting distracted here. But yeah, the point is, if you want to race, you want to race now, you've got a car like the Skip Barber, like the Mazda MX-5, not so much faster cars than that, but the popular cars on iRacing, you will be able to get I would describe it as a okay to semi-decent race, and occasionally, if you're lucky, a very good race. If you're driving at peak times and you've got your iRating up, I'd say it's going to be in that good to very good category of race more often than not. That's possibly the best value aspect of iRacing. Let's now talk about the worst value aspect of iRacing. And you know what? It's not even the actual sim itself. It has to be the fact that iRacing, for some bizarre reason, is possibly the only game and possibly one of the most anti-consumer games in that it has a subscription model combined with a DLC or content model. What that means is you pay, I think it's around about £11 a month for your sub fee, and then it's sort of £11-12 per car and £11 or £12 per track. Now, you do get some content in there in the base subscription fee, but realistically, if you want to take advantage of the best aspect of iRacing that we pointed out at the start, the best value aspect of iRacing, you really need something like this Skip Barber, maybe F3, or maybe one other car, sort of 2 or 3 popular cars, and you really need to have bought 5, maybe 8 tracks for you to be able to really get that value from it. So if you're going into iRacing without that knowledge of which cars to buy, potentially without the buying a year or 2 years in advance to reduce that monthly fee to something a lot cheaper, then you're really going to be in a position where you're not actually getting that race that's a reasonably good quality any time of the day aspect of iRacing, which is the best part of iRacing. And I think this is why you see such a big divide between iRacers that have been using iRacing and got into it versus people that are looking at iRacing afresh, or people that have kind of dipped their toes in it and then sort of backed out of it. If you're already embedded in iRacing, which I mean I am now, deeply behind enemy lines, but once you've got a bunch of tracks for iRacing and a bunch of the popular cars, and you are happy with those cars that you drive, which may or may not happen, but for me personally, I really enjoy driving the new tyre model on the new Skippy, and I'd say I reasonably enjoy the new tyre model on the F3 car. If you've got that, you've got the content, you're then in a position to go, well, I'm probably going to enjoy iRacing in a year, 2 years' time. So you'd bulk buy that, subscription fee's gone down, you've already got the car, and a new track might come out every 3 or 4 months or something. So, and you've already got the previous track, so it just seems like a £12 fee every couple of months. So for someone ingrained in iRacing, it's like, well, I want more tracks, I'm happy with that, my monthly fee's not much, it's really, really good value for money, keep doing what you're doing iRacing. Now, of course, new users coming to it, it's just like any game with DLC, it's just got progressively worse. Like, you look at it as a new user, you come into it, you do get some basic content like the MX-5 and a bunch of tracks, but it's just a little bit skittish content, and the MX-5 is always populated, but there's only going to be so much really that you can do with that before going absolutely insane. And iRacing really haven't moved that much of the old content into the subscription fee bracket. That you do really have to still buy a lot of the old content if you want to drive it. So really, in terms of, like, if you want to actually get what I believe to be the best value aspect of iRacing, or get iRacing in a state where it becomes good value for money for the majority of people, you're really talking about having to spend between £280 to £380 in your first year, and then it's like £100 in the next year, and then probably like £50 or £60 from then onwards. Once you're in that state where you've paid that upfront cost and you're basically paying £60 a year, of course it's bloody good value for money, and of course you'll be like, oh, this is really great, add more tracks, I'm really happy. But as I say, for new people coming to it, that's one hell of a hurdle, and it is a problem with DLC-based games, and a problem that's really, really magnified with iRacing because it's subscription plus DLC. It's a double pill to swallow without anything to lubricate it down. It's a dry paracetamol. So that really is, I think, the main reason why, as I say, there's this really big divide on whether or not iRacing is value for money outside of its objective price. And you know what? I'm going to go there, guys. The objective price of iRacing. So, however you spin it, iRacing, though cheaper than a mobile phone game that's been taken over by a toddler that's decided to spend £3,000 on golden nuggets, and possibly cheaper than Train Simulator, iRacing is up there. It's probably within the top 5 most expensive PC games available to buy at this point in time. And, that's just a fact. I don't know why people struggle with that. It is the most expensive, one of the most expensive games. Deal with it. Now, before I counter the stupid the terrible arguments, and they're stupid, but also terrible arguments that I've heard iRacers make defending the expense of iRacing. Before we do that, I would like to draw attention to the fact that if you're a sort of online, semi-competitive online racer, I would wager that most of us that are sort of into that online, you know, we love that top 5 cars battling for a full race, absolutely on the limit. The drivers giving each other a little bit of respect, but really pushing each other to try and get the victory there with the close finish between the top 3 or so drivers. Most of us would probably pay 10, 15, 20 pounds if we knew you would get that every race. If someone made a service where it was like, you will get that race, but it's 20 pounds a go, I think a lot of us would pay that, because it's way more compelling, that situation, than your sort of average action film or something. And then that's really like the awesome thing with sim racing. You get that potentially in your house, but it's just you can't always get it on demand. And in fairness to iRacing, I think it does, in certain classes of cars, it does generate those kind of races more efficiently than a lot of the other simulators for most people that don't have the time to be able to do league racing or organise other stuff. So, you know, that's another huge value proposition of iRacing, and one of the things that I also really enjoy out of it when I'm sim racing at times that otherwise online wouldn't be as busy. So, you know, that's a big defence of the cost of iRacing, because I think you know that first point and that sweaty palm racing is what you're paying for with iRacing. Now, let's bring up some of the stupid arguments that I want to put to rest here. I've been simmering on these arguments for iRacing cost for years. Now, the biggest idiot argument that you get for the value for iRacing, justifying the price of iRacing, is it's cheaper than go-karting, or it's cheaper than real-world motorsport. Oh my God, this argument, if anyone makes this argument on a forum, I think they should, I don't know, I think they should probably put in that bull torture device and cooked alive. For a start, iRacing is not real world. It's not real driving, so you can't compare it. You're not consuming tyres. You've not gone to a venue. You're not wear and tearing on a real world thing. It's a bloody video game. It's a simulator on your computer. You know, you're using up some of iRacing's servers, and there's IP and R&D and everything. So, yeah, no, it costs money to make these things. But, you know, the other simulators do offer a lot of these features and do a lot of these things. And you wouldn't go, oh, so then, you know, flight simulator. Oh, it costs £3,000 for this flight sim. But you know what? It's cheaper. It's cheaper than real-world flights, so it's justified. Oh, we're going to sell Kerbal Space Program for £14 million. It's cheaper than going to the real moon. Yes, of course it bloody is. Oh, my God. So anyone that ever makes that real-world comparison argument and tries to, like, contextually shift iRacing because it's a simulator into reality to justify the price, bloody hell. That argument drives me crazy. It's such a bad argument that just doesn't hold up if you apply not even three brain cells, half a brain cell, barely filing, an inebriated brain cell following a concussion. You can work out that that's a stupid argument. So I wish people would stop making that one. But I mean, okay, obviously, if you are, there's this simulation gaming thing here. It probably should be a separate video. Obviously, if you're a real-world driver and the sim is going to save you money from the real-world activity, so you use the sim to cut down on your laps, then, you know, you're obviously getting the value. You could add a lot of, there's a lot of saved value there. So you might spend like £3,000-4,000 on a simulator because you're saving that cost from the real life, and that is one of the cost benefits of a simulator. I'm not saying that's not valid, but bearing in mind the vast majority of people playing iRacing are playing it as a video game, effectively. You know, mind you, a lot of real-world drivers, you know, equally they can use Assetto Corsa, they can use R-Factor 2. I mean, they might want to use iRacing specifically because of the laser scan tracks, but there's other simulators there anyway. So that devil advocate point there that I just made, I've just argued against. So yeah, you're just stupid if you use that argument. There's no defence of it. No defence of the real world is more expensive, so the sim should be more expensive argument. Get out of here with that argument. Now, the other argument as to the cost of iRacing being expensive that boils my blood. This is just a cathartic video for me, guys. This is my therapy. I can't afford a real therapist, so I just talk to YouTube. The other one is the idea that iRacing being more expensive reduces the amount of idiots playing it and makes the online system cleaner. No! Like, you can see this isn't the case. This is demonstrated with other games, but what makes iRacing cleaner is the iRating system, in that people want to actually get the iRating up higher, and to do that, generally crashing into people is, you're going to be out of the race. So that doesn't, you're not going to do that to get a high rating. And the safety rating system, which obviously penalises you for having accidents and eventually gets you kicked from a track, which again stops you from being able to improve your iRating. And also, if you want to then race in some of the other, like, C license or even higher licenses, you can't take part in those races. So that's what stops people from being wreckers and crashers. And also, if you're an actual wrecker, which I think is the real issue in sim racing, normally you have people that have accidents and stuff, but that's sort of like a skill issue. The thing that really ruins public racing and the stuff that really ruins racing in general is if you have one guy that decides to be an absolute wrecker. What stops that on iRacing is the fact that you can just get banned from the service. So then once you're banned because you have to use a real payment card to actually get on it, which would be the case with any other online service, to be honest, regardless of its price. If you have to use a payment card, there's going to be a limited amount of ways you can do that, or it's just going to be a pain in the arse to make new accounts. That's going to stop you from being a wrecker. And as someone that tried to reverse finish across the finish line at Road Atlanta after trying to win a race for 10 hours straight and being in first place and going, okay, I'm going to, a little bit sleep deprived, I'm going to reverse across the finish line, and accidentally killed some people, and I got a 1-week ban. As someone that's experienced that, I have to say I am more motivated not to try and reverse across the finish line and not to just outright kill people. It's not the price of it isn't. It's just making less people be on the system, which means there's less splits, which means that you're more likely to be put with someone that's crap or not the same skill level as you. So what you want it really to be cheaper, so that there's more people playing, so you're more likely to be put with people that are of a similar skill to you. So that argument, I said that one just drives me mental. The cost exclusion argument. Now, I will devil's advocate myself here. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, if you've put a lot of money into something, you're financially invested in it, and obviously that then puts more weight on getting banned. But really, if someone's already got to the point where they've spent over £100 on iRacing, or even £30 on a game, £60 on a game, whatever, once someone's gone to that point, you've already passed the threshold where that amount of money is off-putting enough to have to spend that again. And then outside of that, it's the kind of time investment on the account. So it's more that you'd have built up your iRating and gone through everything, and you wouldn't want to throw away that time investment. If you're wealthy, the time investment becomes the more important thing rather than the cost investment. If you're not wealthy, then yeah, the cost investment has an impact, but again, it's going to come down to the iRating, the safety rating, and the inconvenience of getting banned that stops people from being wreckers, rather than having something that costs like £300+. Like, why not make it £10,000? Like, why up the stakes? The point is, you pass a threshold where it's not really the significant factor. So tying in other games to that point. And actually a good example of where ranking and stuff actually pays off again, and moderation really pays off. Counter-Strike's a really good example. That game, it wasn't very expensive. People would get banned and they'd rebuy accounts because it was only £12 or so. So at that point, the actual cost incentive wasn't so great. But what keeps Counter-Strike clean is they've got a rating system there, and when you move up through certain ranks, it actually isolates you for the most part. It's not perfect, but it does isolate you for the most part from people cheating. You can't really wreck people in Counter-Strike in the same sense that you can in the driving sim. But that rating system, which is in some degree analogous to the iRacing rating system, is kind of really what separates it out from the cheaters. And Counter-Strike's gone completely free to play now, and really, as someone that I've got 3,000 hours, I'm not proud of it in Counter-Strike. The cheating seems pretty much the same, or the issues in Counter-Strike are pretty much the same now that it's free to play compared to previously when at launch it was like £30, and then it went down to like £12. So and it sells cheaper. So it's the rating systems. I'm sure there's plenty of other examples out there, other games. The rating systems and moderation that are the key factors. Oh, I forgot to say, Counter-Strike also has a Overwatch thing, so where you can watch games. So if people cheating, they can get banned. And there is also a system for reporting griefers, which gets them banned. So, moderation. Rating and moderation. Not the price after a certain point. So the price argument denied. Terrible argument. Off to the boiling bull for a slow and painful death. Oh dear. Well, I'm glad we've broached those 2 points. But back onto the original question. For me personally, the way I would say when it comes to value for money from things, a really good way to break things down is to look at the dollar or pound cost per hour that you get for that cost up front. And for me personally, iRacing, I find, even if you say I've spent, say, £400 over the current years, but let's say if you had to spend £350 plus £100 year on year, say £500 divided over 4 years. Let's say £500 divided over 4 years. For me, I am going to get a good hour per pound ratio out of that. And I think that's also the case for a lot of people that have got into iRacing. You're going to get really good hour per dollar value out of iRacing. But then what does tend to happen, and you've seen them, you've all seen them, you run the risk of becoming an iRacing fundamentalist. You know the guy or girl, probably guy, let's not kid ourselves. You know them, the person that's literally, their hands and feet can only interpret iRacing physics, and iRacing is sim racing. They're behind the Berlin iRacing Wall Forum. They're not even part of the sim racing world. It's just iRacing, which is understandable for oval racing because there's sod all else in other simulators for that, really, unless you're going to go back some years. But they're missing out. I feel sorry for the fundamentalist iRacer. They're missing out on the awesome mods for Assetto Corsa, some of the content in R Factor 2, Automobilista 2, which is literally going to be Christ in a car coming from the heavens. They're probably they're not even thinking about that. They should be hyped for it. They don't even care. They're just playing iRacing. They're not doing any league stuff with Race Room and enjoying proper car contact racing without wheels spontaneously disappearing and reappearing. They're missing out. And they're going to be trawling those forums, extolling the heavenly experience of iRacing, totally oblivious to other simulators. So that's the real downside of the iRacing fundamentalist, that is getting the best value, but also they're not real sim racers. They're just iRacers. So there you go, guys. That's the most rounded and most long-winded answer to that question known to man. If anyone ever says to you, is iRacing good value for money, you can just link them to this video and they'll probably never talk to you again and be like, well, why am I watching this? I don't want to watch this crap. But at least you'll have linked them to something which answers the question badly. So as you can see in the background of the video, we were playing the Skip Barber here. This is when some of the footage from when we were testing the Aeologis sequential shifter, which is awesome to use with this car. The Skip Barber at this point in time I think it probably is my favourite car in iRacing. It does have the new TAR model on it, which means, unlike the old TAR model, it actually drives vaguely like a car. Or it drives closer to what the cars drive like in the other simulators, so that's why I'm a big fan of it. And it's basically like it's like a kayak with wheels sellotape to it, with a lot of draft. You just get really fun racing with it. I would recommend, if you're new to iRacing, to use my affiliate referral code, buy the skip barber, buy the tracks for the skip barber, buy like 2 or 3 of the tracks that are going to race next with it, and see what you think of it. But yeah, there you go, guys. Oh dear. Time for a cup of tea. My voice is gone. Lesson learned. I'll try and be more concise next video. Let me know in the comments if you survived to the end of this. Say, I survived another Game of Muscle video. I'm taking you to court. And I'll know who got to the end. But yeah, guys, hit the like button, subscribe and hit that bell. Till the next one, happy sim racing, happy iRacing. Goodbye.
Other cars or the track, there's a